So with the TT project still going strong, it was on to the next little bit that I wanted to improve. And that comes onto the matter of debadging a car. I've made videos on this before, but I thought I'd experiment a little bit further and see how we can remove the badges in different manners and see how effective each manner is. First up is the model badge, the TT badge. All the way through this, you'll see me use a fishing line just wrapped around the fingers of my hands and using it in a soaring motion. First technique's one that I've done in previous videos, so don't be surprised by this one, but it's the use of no heat gun. Quite effective for many as not everyone's got access to a heat gun. Start by wrapping a small amount of fishing line around two fingers on one hand, threading an amount through to the other and then wrapping it so it's taut. Then, in a back and forth soaring motion, just cut behind the emblem. You'll notice this leaves the glue on the panel, so what you've actually done is cut in between that glue layer which sits in between the emblem and the bodywork. They will come off relatively easy and should take no hassle at all. Now it's on to removing the glue residue that you left. Now if you had a heat gun, like we do later on in this video, you could employ it here. However, for those that don't have access to a heat gun or are a little bit afraid of using a heat gun on their paint, I thought I'd actually demonstrate how you can do this without using a heat gun. Here you see me actually take off my glove because it was more of a hindrance than help, and just slowly pick away at the glue residue. It's not that hard to remove. I'm sure if you've got a lot of it, it can be quite fiddly, quite time consuming, but the only downside with doing this is if your car has very soft paintwork. From factory, some Japanese and Italian cars, and in fact some British cars also have soft paint. Now, using your finger to remove the excess could actually scratch the paint. However, on an Audi, I know that the paintwork is very tough and durable, so I'm more than safe using this method on your car. But always check for your car first. Once that's done, and you've got the bulk of the glue off, you'll just be left with a small amount of residue and a small shadow from where the emblem was. Next, take some tar and glue remover. Here, I'm using Finesse ObliTARate. It works for me, it's tried, it's tested, and I now get great results. Liberally spray the ObliTARate over the area that you want to remove the glue from. It might take a couple of sprays, and that's just the solvents actually working into the glue residue itself. When you're doing this, you want to use an old microfiber cloth, and again, just use your finger in a glove this time because we're working with solvents, and just give it a little scrape away. The additional benefit of the tar and glue remover just makes those last bits so much easier to collect. However, if we'd done this before with too much glue on the panel, it would have got a bit too mucky and a bit too slimy. Hence why you employ the tar and glue remover now. Once that's done, you're just left with them little dirt shadows that you often find once you debadge a car. That's not a problem. Either take a paint cleanser, an all-in-one polish, or even a little bit of finishing polish by a microfiber applicator by hand. Here I'm using Finesse Tripple. It's tried and tested for me, and I've used this when debadging cars in the past, so I know it's going to work. Simply work the polish into the area sufficiently. Once done, come back in with a microfiber cloth and buff clean. That's it. First technique's done. On to the next one. Much like method 1, method 2 will be using fishing line to remove the actual emblem itself away from the panel. Again, a little bit of fishing line in between your fingers and a small soaring motion, and that pops away nice and easier. The difference is on this method we will introduce heat when we look at removing the bulk of the glue from the panel. We'll then test to see whether that heat actually removes all of the glue or whether you still need to employ a tar and glue remover. But here you can actually see the method in which the fishing line cuts through the glue by what we've got left on the panel. Next, we take the heat gun. Don't be scared at this point. use your spare hand to keep an eye on the temperature of the panel and ensure it's not getting too hot. If the panel is too hot for you to put your hand on, you know you need to back away. However, the introduction of heat will actually help remove the glue. As you can see by the eye, a little bit of heat meant that I could actually roll the glue off the panel. Sometimes a little bit of picking might be needed to get an edge up or bits and pieces like that, but in all honesty, the heat does help. It's nothing to be scared of, and if you haven't done it before, take your time and give it a go. Like you'll see here, I've always got my hand near a panel or on the panel checking the temperature. However, you'll also notice that how much easier this glue is rolling off of the panel. I'm able to keep my hand in a glove here because I'm not having to pick so much. Instead, I'm using the technique whereby I'm using the flat of a finger to actually roll the glue away. If that doesn't work, you can always just take a fingertip and give it a little pick as well, just to go get those little corners up. Now when you are using your heat gun, just make sure you got it set to the lowest setting. That way you've got most control over what heat you're actually adding to the panel. And you'll notice that we're not leaving as much glue residue behind. And like I say, we'll now test how much glue residue is left behind and whether we still need to employ the ObliTARate. Here I took a bit of Tripple to see how much was left behind. Now I knew there was a bit left, but would the Tripple remove it? And the answer is no. You still need to employ the tar and glue remover. The heat gun just makes the bulk process of glue removal that touch easier. As you can see from the area of the T and underneath, you still have that bit of dirt trapped up in the glue. Not a problem, just grab some ObliTARate, a similar method to what you did before. Either spray it directly onto a microfibre if you're working in a delicate area, or you can spray it directly onto the panel, either or. You just want to come back and nip up them little glue spots to make sure that the panel's clean before removing the shadowing with Tripple. One thing to remember, this microfibre will need to go in the bin once you're done, because you'll have glue residue in it. If you then to put this in a washing machine and that glue residue was to heat up, it would migrate from one cloth into your others, potentially ruining more than one cloth. So use an old cloth when you do this and make sure you're happy to throw it in the bin once you're done. Bit like tar removal on your car really. Once the glue residue's off, come back in with a little bit of Tripple and nip up any shadows that you had on the panel. If you'd like to see a video on Tripple and how it works in all its glory and not just removing shadows from debadging a car, be sure to leave a like on this video, and it's maybe something we'll work on in the future. Once that's done, fresh microfibre to buff it off and you're good to go. That's now the rear of the car debadged. Don't worry, we got one more method though. On to method 3, and that's employing the heat gun from the outset. Now, I know there's more than 3 methods to debadge a car or whatever, but this is the 3 that I would personally recommend. Now, we're starting by using the heat gun to actually heat up the emblem, thus softening the glue behind it. Now, as you'll see there, I just tried to give that little S-line a wiggle with my hands, but the glue was still hard, so the badge didn't actually move. Now, I've fast forwarded this bit because it could be quite boring, and I'm just sitting on the temperature of low on the heat gun with my hand on the panel to make sure it's not getting too hot, but at the same time just giving that emblem a little wiggle to see whether it's actually becoming pliable or not, and when it is, I know I'm there. Now once I know it's pliable, I'm still going to come back in with the fishing line, but you'll notice how quickly that fishing line cut through. That wasn't fast forwarded or anything like that, that just cut through that quickly. Don't ever lift the emblem without using something to cut the glue behind it. Although it might be easy enough to come away, you're actually likely to damage, chip or dent the panel of whereby you're leaning into with the badge, especially on such a large badge as the S-Line one. Now with that said and done, the glue was already warm, so you'll notice how quickly this has come up this time and how easily it's come up. Now I'm still employing the heat gun here, just to get those bits up, but this is probably the easiest way that I did on the car. Now you'll notice that I'm still left with some glue residue, definitely on the left hand side there. So we're going to come back in with a little bit of ObliTARate just to nip that back up. But again, if you are working somewhere delicate, you can spray ObliTARate straight onto the cloth. Because sometimes you don't want to remove all of the badges, or you might have some model stickers somewhere lower down on the car, so you don't want the glue remover tripling down onto that. That's why you might employ the technique of spraying ObliTARate straight onto the microfiber cloth. A little bit of back and forth motion, no real pressure is actually needed here, just let the solvents in the glue remover do the work for you. Once that's done, you'll just be left with a small amount of shadowing like I have here. However, if your car's new, you might not actually get shadowing because there's been no time for dirt to build up around that badge. Finally, a little bit of Tripple, all that's needed to remove that shadowing, and we're there. We're done. Job's a good one. Now, as always, just want to say thanks for you guys tuning in and watching these videos. Again, really hope you're enjoying this series, and be sure to hang around for some more videos in the near future. As always, share, like, comment, subscribe and all of that good stuff for the next detailing video. See you soon.